Dahuan lived alone in a small wooden cabin deep in the forest. He was a quiet man who once worked as an engineer in the city, but now he enjoyed the peace of nature. Every day, he fixed machines, fed the animals, and took long walks in the woods. Life was simple and calm. One evening, while walking near the edge of the forest, Dahuan saw something strange in the sky. A bright light flashed above the trees, followed by a loud boom. Birds flew away, and the ground shook a little. Curious and worried, Dahuan followed the smoke rising in the distance. He walked for almost 20 minutes until he found a large crater in the ground. In the middle of it was a small broken ship, clearly not from Earth. The metal was smooth and dark blue, glowing faintly. It had strange shapes and symbols on it. Dahuan had seen many machines in his life, but nothing like this. The door of the ship was open, and smoke came out slowly. Dahuan stepped closer and called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" There was no answer, just a soft buzzing sound and the crackle of broken wires. Carefully, he climbed into the wreckage. Inside, it was dark and smelled of burning metal. He heard a soft cough and followed the sound. In the back of the ship, he found someone lying on the floor. A woman, clearly not human. Her skin was a soft violet color, her eyes large and silver. She was bleeding and breathing weakly. Next to her were two small children, about the size of human 5-year-olds. They were hugging each other tightly, eyes wide with fear. They looked like her. Same skin, same silver eyes, but they had small glowing marks on their cheeks. Dahuan knelt down and spoke gently. "It's okay. I'll help you." The woman opened her eyes slowly. A small device on her neck lit up, and a voice came from it. "Please, help my children," it said in broken Korean. Without wasting time, Dahuan carefully lifted the woman into his arms and guided the two children out of the ship. The children followed him silently, holding each other's hands. He brought them all back to his cabin before night fell. Inside the cabin, he placed the woman on his bed and wrapped her wounds with clean cloth. He gave the children warm blankets and some water. They didn't speak, but their eyes followed his every move. One of them finally pointed at him and said, "Appa." Dahuan blinked in surprise. "Appa? No, I'm not your father." But the child smiled and said it again, "Appa." The woman watched from the bed, her eyes soft and tired. "They think you are kind," said the translator softly. Dahuan gave a small smile. "Well, I guess I can be Appa for now." That night, the forest was quiet again, but Dahuan's life had changed forever. He didn't know where they came from or what had happened to them, but he knew one thing: they needed help, and he would protect them. Far above the earth, silent stars twinkled in the sky. Somewhere, danger still followed this small alien family. But for now, they were safe in a cabin deep in the woods, under the care of a man who once wanted nothing but peace, and now he had found something more: purpose. The next morning, Dahuan made hot soup and bread. The two children sat at the small wooden table, looking at the food with wide eyes. They sniffed the soup and then tasted it. Their eyes lit up. One of them let out a small happy sound, and the other smiled and nodded. Dahuan laughed. "Glad you like it." The woman, Mira, was sitting on the couch. She still looked weak, but her eyes were brighter. The small machine on her neck translated her words in a soft voice. "You are kind." "Thank you." Dahuan nodded. "You're welcome. I couldn't leave you there." That day, Dahuan learned their names. The woman's name was Mira. The two children were Riho and Saren. Riho was the older one, calm and curious. Saren was younger, more playful, but shy. They spoke to each other in their own language, but sometimes the translator helped. Dahuan showed them around his cabin. It was small but full of tools, machines, and books. He had built most of it himself. He showed them how to use the water tap, the heater, and the lights. Riho touched everything carefully, asking small questions through hand signs. Saren followed Dawan everywhere like a little shadow. Later, Dawan went outside to repair the fence. To his surprise, Riho and Saren followed him. He handed them small tools, and they tried to help. They weren't strong, but they were smart. Riho understood how the tools worked very quickly. Saren watched Dawan's hands and copied him. Mira watched from the window. A quiet smile spread across her face. She looked at Dawan with new eyes. This human, so different from them, was showing more kindness than anyone had in a long time. That evening, Dawan sat with Mira near the fire. He gave her a small cup of tea. She held it carefully and took a sip. "Your children are strong," he said. Mira looked down. They had to be. "We ran for many days before the crash." "Ran from what?" "Slavers," the translator said slowly. "They destroyed our home, took many of our people. We escaped in a small ship. It broke. We crashed here." Dawan's jaw tightened. "I'm sorry." Mira looked at him. "You saved us. They call you Appa. That means father." "I know," he smiled. "They're sweet kids. They trust you. So do I." Dawan didn't know what to say. No one had said something like that to him in years. The next few days passed quietly. Dawan built a small bedroom for Riho and Saren. Mira helped him as much as she could. Though still weak, she had a sharp mind. She gave him advice on fixing a broken drone, and together they made it fly again. "You're good with machines," he said. "I was a scientist. On my world, I worked with energy and code. Maybe we can build something better together." She nodded. "Yes. Thank you for giving us a place." Dawan looked around at his quiet cabin, now full of small voices and laughter. He never thought he'd have company again. Now he couldn't imagine the silence. That night, Riho and Saren crawled into his lap while he sat in his old armchair. Saren hugged him tightly and whispered, "Abba." Dawan smiled and put his arms around them. "Yeah, Abba's here." Outside, the stars blinked softly. The danger wasn't gone, but for now, they were safe. And something strong was growing between them. Not just trust, but love. Life slowly became normal in Dawan's small cabin. Every morning, the children woke up early and helped with simple chores. Riho swept the floor. Saren fed the chickens and picked vegetables from the small garden. Dawan cooked breakfast while Mira cleaned the tools. They worked together like a real family. Mira's health was getting better. She still moved slowly, but her hands were steady again. She sat beside Dawan in his workshop and looked at the machines he had built. One afternoon, she pointed to an old broken drone on the table. "This drone, I can fix it, but it needs better power." Dawan was surprised. "You think so?" Mira smiled. "Yes, I can use this," she said, pulling a small glowing crystal from her belt. "It's alien tech, but it can work here too." Together, they fixed the drone. Dawan did the heavy work, and Mira adjusted the wires and power flow. After a few hours, the drone lifted into the air and flew around the room. Saren clapped. Riho took notes in a small notebook Dawan had given him. "You two make a good team," Riho said softly. Dawan looked at Mira and smiled. "Yeah, we really do." That week, Dawan set up an old computer with internet access. He wanted the kids to learn more about Earth. He showed them simple websites and videos for children. They were curious about everything: Earth animals, different foods, the sky, music, even dancing. Saren tried dancing after watching a video and ended up falling over a chair. Everyone laughed, even Mira. At night, they sat by the fire. Mira told stories about her home planet, the blue rivers, the floating trees, and the singing rocks. Riho and Saren listened with shining eyes. Dawan listened too, amazed by how beautiful and strange their world sounded. One day, Riho asked, "Can we go to school here?" Dawan thought for a moment. Real school might be hard right now, but I can teach you. He set up a small classroom in one corner of the cabin. He made a blackboard from an old piece of wood. Mira helped create lessons, using a mix of earth knowledge and her own. Dahuan taught math, reading, and science. Mira added alien history and logic puzzles. The children loved it. Saren showed talent in drawing and music. She made small songs using a metal box that Mira tuned into an alien instrument. Riho, on the other hand, loved machines. He copied Dahuan and made a tiny robot that followed light. One evening, after a long day of learning and building, Mira and Dahuan sat outside on the porch. "You've done a lot for us," Mira said quietly. Dahuan looked at the stars. "You've given me something too. I was alone for a long time. Now, I have something to care for again." Mira nodded. "I feel that too." There was a soft silence between them, but it was warm and peaceful. Inside the cabin, the children were asleep. The little robot blinked softly by their beds, a quiet protector. The drone flew a slow circle above the roof, keeping watch. In the forest around them, animals moved quietly. The stars above twinkled like before, but now the cabin was full of new light, laughter, learning, and love. They were not just surviving anymore. They were living. It was a quiet night in the forest. The fire crackled softly in the cabin. Mira and Dahuan were reading old books, while the children played with wooden blocks on the floor. Everything felt peaceful. But then, something changed. A loud beep came from the corner of the room. Mira stood up quickly and ran to the small black box near the window. It was a tracker from her ship. The red light on it was blinking fast. Mira's face turned pale. "No, they found us." Dahuan stood up. "Who?" "The slavers. They sent a signal. A tracking pulse. They are close." The children stopped playing and looked up. Rio held Saren's hand tightly. Dahuan took a deep breath. "How much time do we have?" "Maybe a few days. Maybe less," Mira said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were full of worry. "We need to get ready," Dahuan said. The next morning, Dahuan went into full work mode. He pulled out all his tools, wires, and metal parts. Mira helped him design new defenses. They used Earth machines and alien technology together. Mira showed Dahuan how to build a force field around the cabin using parts from the crashed ship. It wouldn't last long, but it could hold off an attack for a while. Dahuan set up traps in the forest, nets that could catch drones, sound bombs that would confuse enemies, and cameras linked to his tablet. He also repaired 2 more flying drones and added small lasers to them. Inside the cabin, Mira turned the old robot into a warning bot. It would beep loudly if someone came near. Riho and Saren helped too. Riho improved the software in the drones, making them faster. Saren placed small alarms near the windows and doors. Even though they were scared, they worked hard. That night, Dahuan sat with the children. "I want you to stay in the shelter if anything happens. You understand?" Riho nodded. "We understand." "I'm scared," Saren whispered. Dahuan pulled her close. "I'm scared too, but we'll protect you. All of us. Together." Mira came and sat beside them. "We have run long enough. This time, we fight." Dahuan looked at her. "Are you sure?" "Yes," she said. "I will not let them take my children again." They worked all through the next day, preparing food, water, and power for the underground shelter. Mira gave Dahuan a small alien communicator to use during the battle. Finally, everything was ready. That night, Dahuan couldn't sleep. He stood on the porch, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, the enemy was coming. His peaceful life had turned into something much bigger. He had a family now. He had something to protect. Mira joined him, standing close. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For choosing to stay, for fighting with us." He looked at her. "You're not just guests anymore. Your family. She smiled softly. For a moment, they said nothing. The wind blew gently through the trees. Suddenly, the warning bot beeped twice. A red light flashed. They're here, Mira said. Dahuan's hand tightened around his tool belt. The cabin, once a quiet home in the forest, was now a battlefield. But they were ready. Ready to protect. Ready to fight. The forest was quiet, too quiet. Dahuan looked through his binoculars from the roof. Trees stood still in the night. The stars were hidden behind clouds. Everything felt heavy. Then he saw them. 3 small lights moved between the trees, glowing eyes of enemy drones. They were fast, floating above the ground, scanning the area. They've started, Dahuan said into his small communicator. Inside the cabin, Mira answered. Stay calm. The traps are ready. Dahuan nodded and pressed a button on his wristband. A net shot up from the ground, catching one of the drones. It sparked and crashed into the dirt. The other 2 drones stopped and backed away. They had learned something. But so had Dahuan. He controlled his own drones from his tablet. Go, defense team, he whispered. His 2 flying drones flew out from behind the trees and attacked. A short, sharp battle followed. Dahuan's drones moved faster and smarter, thanks to Riho's new code. They blasted 1 enemy drone out of the sky. The last one escaped. They're testing us, Mira said from inside. More are coming. I know, Dahuan said. Let's show them we're ready. Inside the cabin, Riho and Seren were already in the shelter, a safe room hidden under the floor. It was warm, with food, water, and light. Riho held Seren close and said, We'll be okay. Appa will protect us. Seren nodded, and Ioma too. Mira stood beside the door, holding a strange alien tool in her hand. It looked like a stick, but it glowed at the tip. It's a stun staff, she told Dahuan. If they get too close, I'll use it. Dahuan had a small laser gun, one Mira helped him build. It wasn't very strong, but it could stop a few enemies if needed. Then came the sound, a loud hum in the air. A larger ship hovered above the forest. It was black and had sharp wings. It dropped 3 tall robots onto the ground. The robots had long arms and red eyes. They began walking toward the cabin. Battlebots, Mira said. Dangerous and fast. Dahuan took a deep breath. We can't let them reach the kids. He pressed a button. A flash bomb exploded near the first robot, blinding it. Mira hit another button, and the force field around the cabin came on, a blue wall of energy. The first robot hit the shield. Sparks flew. The shield held, but only for now. The second robot walked around the side. Dahuan ran outside and shot his laser gun. The shot hit the robot's leg. It turned and rushed at him. Just before it reached him, one of Dahuan's drones flew in and crashed into the robot's chest, exploding on impact. The robot fell, broken and burning. Inside, Mira fought the last robot. It had broken through the shield. She hit it with the stun staff. The robot shook and stopped moving for a moment. But then it reached out and grabbed her arm. She cried out. Dahuan ran inside and tackled the robot. Together, he and Mira pushed it back. Dahuan hit it with a metal pipe. Mira used the stun staff again, right in its face. The robot sparked and collapsed. Silence filled the room. They were breathing hard. Dahuan looked at Mira. Are you okay? She nodded. Yes, just a little bruised. They opened the shelter door. Riho and Seren ran out and hugged them tightly. You did it, Seren said. No, Dahuan said, smiling. We did it. But Mira looked up at the sky. This was just the start. The real ship hasn't come yet. Dahuan's smile faded. Then we'll keep fighting. For this family. Outside, the wind blew through the trees again. And above, the stars waited in silence. The next morning, the sky was dark. Thick clouds covered the sun. It felt like something big was coming. Dahuan stood outside the cabin, fixing the broken force field. Wires hung from the trees. Sparks popped from the corners. One of the defense drones lay on the ground, its parts scattered. "We stopped the first group," he said to Mira, "but I don't know if we can stop more." Mira looked at the sky. "That was just the scouts. The real ship is close now. I can feel it." Inside the cabin, Riho was building a new drone with stronger metal. Saren sat next to him, drawing pictures of their family. Dahuan, Mira, Riho, and herself, all smiling. She drew stars above them. "We'll still be together, right?" she asked softly. Riho nodded. "Of course. Appa will protect us." Just then, a loud sound filled the air, like thunder, but sharper. Everyone froze. Dahuan ran outside and looked up. A massive black ship came through the clouds. It was 10 times bigger than the last one. Long arms reached out from its sides. Red lights flashed along its body. "It's here," Mira said, her voice calm but cold. "That is their command ship." The ship slowly landed in a field beyond the forest. Trees shook. Animals ran. The ground trembled under its weight. Dahuan grabbed his laser gun. Mira held her stun staff. They looked at each other. "We stopped them here," he said. "Yes," Mira replied. Suddenly, a message played from the ship. A deep voice echoed in the air. "Return the escapees. Surrender now, or be destroyed." Mira narrowed her eyes. "Never." Dahuan turned on the last energy barrier. "Then we fight." The enemy sent down more battle bots. Bigger ones this time, with sharp claws and heavy armor. Dahuan's drones flew forward and fired. Explosions lit up the trees. One robot fell, but 2 more came behind it. Riho helped from inside, controlling the drones with the tablet. "Sending support," he shouted. Mira used the translator to confuse one of the robots, making it move in the wrong direction. Saren pulled a wire and set off a noise trap that blasted sound through the trees. One robot shut down from the shock. But the biggest robot, tall and silver with 4 arms, broke through the trees. It walked toward the cabin like a machine of war. Dahuan ran out to face it. He fired his laser gun again and again. The shots bounced off the robot's armor. "I can't stop it," he shouted. Mira came running beside him. "We must try together." They stood side by side, weapons ready. But before they could attack again, the robot grabbed Dahuan and threw him to the ground. He groaned in pain. "Appa!" Riho screamed from the window. Suddenly, the robot turned its head and looked straight at the children. It started walking toward the cabin. "No!" Mira shouted. She ran in front of it, swinging her stun staff. She hit the robot's leg. It stopped for a second, then raised its arm to strike her. That moment, Dahuan got up. His arm was hurt, but he didn't care. He ran to the back of the cabin, grabbed the alien power crystal Mira had used earlier, and placed it into his last drone, the fastest one. "Go," he said. The drone shot forward like lightning. It flew straight into the robot's chest and exploded. The robot stumbled, sparked, and finally crashed to the ground. Smoke rose into the air. The forest was quiet again. Dahuan dropped to his knees. Mira ran to him. "You're hurt." "I'm fine," he said, breathing hard. "Are the kids okay?" Riho and Saren ran out, hugging them both tightly. "You saved us again," Saren said. Dahuan looked at Mira. Was that the last of them? Mira looked toward the dark ship in the distance. "No, but now they know we will fight." Smoke still filled the air. The black enemy ship stood in the distance, quiet but deadly. Dahuan sat on the ground, holding his arm. Mira wrapped a cloth around it. "We need to finish this," she said. Dahuan looked at her. "How? We can't fight them forever." Mira reached into her bag and pulled out a small silver cube. "This is a signal jammer. If we can place it inside their ship, it will break their connection to the other slavers. They will not be able to call for more help. But we have to get close, Dahuan said. Yes, she said. And fast. Dahuan stood up slowly. Then let's go. Inside the cabin, Riho and Saren were watching through the window. Riho held the tablet. Saren had her backpack with drawings and snacks. When they saw Mira and Dahuan preparing to leave, they ran to them. You're going to the ship, right? Riho asked. Yes, Dahuan said. We'll stop them at the source. We want to help, Saren said. Mira shook her head. No, you must stay here. If we don't come back, you will, Riho said. He handed Dahuan the tablet. You can control the drones from here. I made a map of the ship's weak points. Dahuan looked at the screen and smiled. Good work. They hugged the children tightly. Stay safe. We'll be back soon, Dahuan said. Then, Dahuan and Mira ran through the forest toward the giant black ship. The sky above them rumbled. The ship was preparing to take off. If it leaves, it'll call others, Mira said. We must stop it now. They reached the landing zone. 2 battlebots guarded the entrance. Dahuan used Riho's map to find a hidden path. They crawled through tall grass and entered the ship from the side, through a broken vent. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. Red lights blinked. Strange sounds came from the walls. We go to the control room, Mira whispered. They moved quickly. One robot walked past, but didn't see them. Dahuan pressed a button on the tablet, and a drone flew in, distracting the robot. It chased the drone away. They reached the control room. Inside, a tall alien stood. He wore black armor and had glowing red eyes. He was the slaver commander. I knew you would come, he said. His voice was deep and cruel. Dahuan stepped forward. Leave this planet. Leave them alone. The alien laughed. They belong to us. You are just a human. No, Mira said. He's their father. She threw the silver cube. It landed near the control panel. The lights on the ship blinked. The alien ran toward them. Dahuan pulled out the laser gun and fired. The shot hit the alien's chest, but he kept coming. He hit Dahuan hard, and Dahuan fell. Mira grabbed the stun staff and hit the alien from behind. He shouted in pain and dropped to one knee. The signal cube started glowing. The ship shook. No, the alien screamed. Dahuan stood up again and helped Mira press the cube into the main control screen. A loud sound filled the room. The lights turned red, then off. Outside, the ship's engines died. The battlebots stopped moving. The ship was dead. The alien fell to the ground, weak and defeated. It's over, Mira said. They ran back through the forest. Riho and Saren ran out of the cabin and hugged them tightly. You did it, Riho said. We're safe now, Saren shouted. Dahuan smiled and looked at Mira. It's over. Mira nodded. Yes, we are free. That night, they sat by the fire. The stars were bright again. Saren held Dahuan's hand. You're not just Appa. You're our hero. Dahuan looked around at his new family. A mother from the stars, 2 brave children, and a quiet cabin in the forest. For the first time in a long time, he felt complete. They were not just safe. They were home.